Michael Rasztovits.
Er war ein Superstar, er war so populär, er war zu exaltiert, genau das war sein Flair. Er war ein Virtuose, war ein Rocky-Doll und alle suchten noch heute Captain Rock, mir Amadeus.
Österreich gegen Belgien. Michael Rasztovits fordert die aktuelle 31 der Welt heraus. Er war der erste Spieler, der den Titel beim World Youth Championship verteidigen konnte in diesem Jahr. Aus Antwerpen der Dreammaker Dimitri van den Bergh.
To bring an end to a very decent Friday afternoon session here on the European Tour, the European Darts Grand Prix in Sindelfingen. It is Belgium's Dimitri van den Bergh who's still grooving away up against Austria's Michael Rasztovits. Van den Bergh, the two-time back-to-back World Youth Champion, against Rasztovits, who won a Challenge Tour event last year and will be a decent standard of opponent for Van den Bergh. We've seen some of the big names produce big performances this afternoon, none more so than Nathan Aspinall, who averaged 103 in a 6-1 demolition of Kim Viljanen. Brendan Dolan has just come through 6-2 against Michael Rosenauer. How Van den Bergh would love a similar result in this one. And then we have some very, very intriguing tussles this evening. We'll come on to them, but for now, have they saved the last dance for Dimmy? Paul Nicholson joins me to talk you through this match between DVDB and Michael Rasztovits.
I'm intrigued by this one because I think with Dimitri we get either brilliant or under par.
Ladies and gentlemen, first leg is Dimitri to throw first. Game on.
Every time I watch Dimitri, I'm always hoping that we get the best out of him. But sometimes, if he has a bad start, sometimes he just really struggles. And I was looking through how he did in qualifying. I was trying to pick it apart because he came through in a pretty good style against Benito van der Pas
60.
with a 95 average. He won 6-3. But then the next game is the one that was intriguing me the most. He beat Gabriel Clemens, who we all know is very handy. He won 6-0 with an 83 average. Now, Clemens only averaged 72. So that one was just a bit odd. But then he beat Raymond van Barneveld with a 93, 6-4. So it's up, it's down, then it's up. So it almost proves the point that sometimes Dimitri can be very unpredictable.
Well, that is certainly up from his opponent. Does it give him a leg up in leg one? He has more or less snatched the darts, but he snatched that dart into the 5 and might have seen that advantage disappear.
85.
Just to back up your point, Paul, if you look at the data on Dart Connect, which has the results and statistics from the Players' Championship events, Van den Bergh's 3-dart average over the year on the Pro Tour is 93.22, but that is with a peak of 106.7 and a low of 74.3.
100.
There is not
Dimitri
much
required
consistency
97.
to get to that mean.
We can come back to that in a second because I think it's a very good point you've made. But double 12 for Dimmy. And that is an excellent first leg.
Second leg is Michael to throw first.
And to go back to what you were saying, I don't think any professional dart player should average 74 at any point in the season. I really don't.
I am scouring the stats for Paul Nicholson now.
You will
Bear
find
with
one.
me.
You will find one, I'm sure. I had an awful game against Warren Parry in the World Series in the first game and somehow won with a sub-80 average. But in this day and age, with all of the talent
96.
and all of the means for these guys to perform at their best all the time, I don't think anybody on this tour should be averaging under 75.
Well, interestingly, Van den Bergh's poorest performance, the average you just
59.
mentioned, came in a 6-2 defeat to Peter Hudson in the Players' Championship that followed the one in which he'd reached the final.
Bit peculiar, isn't it?
Yeah, as it well, you called it before we gave the evidence. Brilliant or not very good at all.
Well, Rasztovits has been
60.
not so much brilliant, but very good in getting to European Tour events this season. He's done so again through the Western South European qualifier. And
100.
he beat an Italian and a Swiss player in there. And he played his best game against Andy Bless, for my liking.
100.
Andy Bless, you might remember him from the World Cup last year in that Swiss team. He was a bit of a handy player. When he came up against Michel Fulani in his last game, player from Italy, and we
96.
want to see more Italians playing in those qualifiers because I, for one, being very selfish, want to take this European Tour to La Bella Italia, not the restaurant.
100.
Well, you might be
151.
back on the stage if we ever get to Venice and Rome on the Euro Tour, Paul. Now then, Van den Bergh misses the
91.
second
Like
requisite
everyone,
treble,
90.
allowing Rasztovits in for this 90.
Double Funts in. Oh
It's on the
yeah,
second
that's very good
leg,
indeed.
Michael Rasztovits. Third leg is
It's the
Dimitri
right
throw
way to
first.
go, but when you
Game
get to 60, you've got to be a little bit defensive on that double 15, because the last thing you want to do is split it and have no dart to use. Gift your
140.
opponent a shot at a double.
The one thing I will say for Dimitri is that although those stats have suggested the variance in his performance levels, we have generally seen the best of him on the stage,
60.
haven't we?
We have, and it's a subject that we've talked about a lot because he is noted as a stage player, but the floor form is starting to come together a little bit by bit.
57.
And there are other players out there who classify themselves as stage players, but even they admit they have to be good on the floor to get to the stage. So
100.
you've got to go through qualifiers, you've got to go through Pro Tour events to get to the place where you feel more comfortable. And the perfect example of that is Kevin Painter. He hated playing on the floor, but he loved playing on the stage. And he admitted, I've got to play well on the floor, otherwise I'm not going to get there.
When Mardle disliked
81.
floor events with a passion. Describe them as soulless, soul-destroying.
Well, for real characters in the
100.
game who feed off their own adrenaline, there's nothing to feed on when you go to the sterile environments of Barnsley and Wigan.
Yeah, I think it's a bit different now with the introduction, and that is fantastic
165.
from Dimitri van den Bergh. But I was going to say, with the introduction of the streaming boards, you do see the odd player who gives the odd glance to the camera now and again, and the celebrations that they would usually give
135.
towards the friends and
Dimitri
family
require
section are now
58.
aimed at the cameras to the left of them. So they've got something to G themselves up.
It's Dimitri who will be up 2-1 if he gets double 10, and he does.
Game shot in third leg. Dimitri van den Bergh.
Clinically done.
One leg is
And
Michael to
two
throw first.
very
Game
good
on.
legs from Dimmy, 2 15-darters.
Maybe it's the dancing that gets Dimitri going. How would it go down, Paul, if you were playing
140.
Dimitri van den Bergh on a pro tour, or any other professional player, and he decided to dance into board 14 at Barnsley Metrodome?
I'm perfectly fine with that. I think we may
140.
get to the stage where all of the events have some sort of stage element. A lot of people tend to forget that before the European Tour even
100.
started back in 2012, we used to come to places in Germany and Austria and the Netherlands and play pro tours which had a stage element. So what they would do is they would assign you on a
77.
board, so there'd be 16 boards, but there would be one big room like this, and then you'd be told with about 5 minutes notice you're going on the stage.
81.
And some of the older players hated it, but you just adapted to it. We used to go to places like Dinslaken, where we had the European Championships back in 2010. And then the
57.
European Tour grew from that, where all of the games were stage.
Yeah, it started with, well, it progressed to 2 stages, didn't it? And now we have the one, these
60.
3-day weekends.
This is definitely the way to go. I remember having stage 2 in the same room as stage 1 in Berlin, which was a bit odd. And it was necessary at the time because it was a stepping stone to what we have now.
120.
As a result, we found so much talent in Central and Western Europe.
Not dissimilar to the old UK Open finals at Bolton.
Very, very similar.
44.
Van den Bergh here then with a chance to break the throw. 88 required. We'll look at treble 20 first. Now 18 or the treble. But that is criminal.
40.
It was such a good life for the 60, but you've got to negate that by going for the big 18. He's missed all of it. Will Rasztovits miss tops? He will,
56.
only just. And Dimitri's done really well here. He didn't get irate with missing that single. He's just sucked it up and given himself this one more chance. And it's all he needs to take a 3-1 lead. Really good temperament from the Belgian, and that's why everybody likes him, because he just is so level-headed.
Is that the moment that wins this match? A missed start at tops from Rasztovits, and Van den Bergh has cashed in.
134.
Let's talk about that missed single, because I would say 19 out of 20 dart players would have a big exhalation of air, or they would roll their eyes. There was nothing like that from Dimitri. He just pressed on with the next opportunity. And let's use Dirk van Duijvenbode as a really good example, because what would Dirk do in that situation? He would gesticulate, he would pull a face, he would breathe out really deeply. He'd give you ammunition to say, that's a weakness from me, but Dimi doesn't do that.
125.
Yeah, he's a man who keeps himself calm and controlled on the arcade.
Rasztovits has got aspirations of being a full-time professional.
97.
And he is a challenge to a player at the minute, and he's making the most of these Western South European qualifiers.
Yeah, winner on the Challenge Tour last year.
55. Dimitri require 100.
Van den Bergh now has the choice if he finds the first 2 darts in the treble, but they are a long way off. Needs to switch to the treble 20 here, Paul.
Yeah.
52.
Needs to get that compass exchanged.
Yeah, he's tried again to go to the 18s and found a section of the 4.
That's the age-old argument now. Where does he go with the first dart on 118?
Dimitri 180.
There was a right way and a wrong way.
The right way is?
Treble 20.
Well, that was the right way, but now he's decided he's blocked it and gone for the ball.
93.
I don't mind that at all.
84.
But he will if Rasztovits gets 14 and that bullseye. Slightly leaning on that third dart, a la Michael Smith.
25.
But Michael Rasztovits could well be 4-1 down if the Belgian knows where double 8 is.
There you see the pause.
Yeah, shot the 5th leg.
And a cucumber cool finish on double 4 from Dimitri van den Bergh.
Applauded by Corey Cadby in the same camp with Mac Elkin, of course. And there was a twist of the face
140.
from Robert Marjanovic, who was there supporting Michael Rasztovits.
I'll put you on the spot, Paul. How far can Dimitri Van den Bergh go in this game? He's in the world's top 32, back-to-back World Youth Champion. We've seen what he can do on the stage. He is 24 years of age now. Do you think he's kind of made a
131.
textbook start to his career? He's not won a big major title yet, or reached a big major final or semi-final, for instance.
If there was a draft in darts, like the NFL, he'd be a number 1 draft pick. That's what I'm going to say. He'd be taken to a big team, he'd be given a big fat contract. All of the tools are there for him to be a world champion.
He's experienced massive matches, hasn't he? He's experienced massive occasions, huge things, but he seems to carry on making a steady progression.
I think he's got every capability of being a world number 1. I think he can be a champion of the world, absolutely. And he doesn't seem overawed by any of the occasions. Now, I go back to when he made the quarterfinals of the World Championships, and I was commentating there for the radio. I looked on the stage. I looked at Dimitri when the pyrotechnics were going off and when he started dancing. He doesn't forget to enjoy himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't get nervous. He has fun. As long as he keeps doing that, I think it'll go a very long way.
He's having fun this afternoon. The
58. Dimitri require 80.
Belgian star, the future world number 1 and world champion in the eyes of the assets. Now looking for a 5-1 lead. He's going to get one dart at double top.
Another little exhalation, getting rid of the tension in the body. Another one for tops.
60.
Wasn't far away. And Rasztovits can't afford any more misses.
Yeah, and he's only getting chances like this. The odd dart at double at the end of a 2-figure combination.
52.
And once again he's missed.
Shouldn't have been on 72 after being on 130. That's the problem. He's got to be lower than that. He's got to have 2 darts at a double as opposed to 1. How many darts will it take Dimitri to go out? He's going to need the 3rd one.
He's working his way in,
and
it's found its way in.
7 leg is Dimitri to throw first.
The caveat to the discussion we just had mentioned no big major finals, but of course did appear in that World Series final in Germany in front of a record crowd when he lost to Mensa Suljovic, beating Michael van Gerwen and Gary Anderson on the way.
Yeah. You've got to say as well, it's in an age of comparisons. We love a comparison on social media. We know how much it irks people.
Well, some more than others.
Well, who's the best Belgian player of all time?
Well, you tell me.
Eric Claris. I didn't even hesitate. Anybody who has an opinion about that, please get in touch. I'll be very much looking forward to your response. And I'm going to add something to that. I think Dimitri Van den Bergh will be the best player from Belgium of all time. No pressure, Dimitri.
Well, there's no pressure on him in this match. There might be a bit more in the next one when he faces Ian White, if he finishes a job here, which it seems almost certain that he will. But the Diamond
45
has reached back-to-back European Tour finals.
Yeah, Ian White has been very impressive the last fortnight. And Dimitri is looking at a very impressive 120. He went for a 25 on the last shot, but hit a small 5. But it's 20 in tops to finish the afternoon session.
There's a 20. And there is the top. And Dimitri Van den Bergh does finish off the afternoon session with a very, very comfortable win over Michael Rasztovits. 6-1 to Van den Bergh, the same scoreline that saw Aspinall beat Viljanen in the performance of the afternoon. 103 average for him. The future stars doing the business in the afternoon session. We'll be back tonight with matches including Steve Beaton against Stephen Bunting and Ryan Searle against Glenn Durrant. Join us for the second session of the European Darts Grand Prix live from 7 on PDC TV.
Der zuletzt ja zweimal im Finale auf der European Tour stand, der in exzellenter Form ist. Keine einfache Aufgabe für Dimitri van den Bergh. So, Corey Cadby möchte noch ein paar Flights von dir haben. Ne? Der ruft die ganze Zeit.
Ja, aber der kann ja schon froh sein, dass er mit mir ein Zimmer teilen darf.
Du musst ein Zimmer teilen mit ihm. Ach du Schande. Ich gratuliere dir.
Dankeschön.
Ja, ich glaube, ein guter Auftakt. Ne? Auch hinten raus die 120 gecheckt. Vielleicht nicht vom Scoring her nicht so das A-Game, aber in wichtigen Momenten die Doppel gut getroffen.
Ja, das stimmt. Ich habe gegen Rasto gerade spielen können in der Weg, dass er immer einen Dart bekommt. Er verpasst die und dann darf ich zumachen. Ich habe jedes Mal die Chance genützt. Also ja, deswegen bin ich ja jetzt durch. Ich freue mich da sehr drauf. Kurze Sache, der Corey Cadby ist aber nicht qualifiziert. Der ist hier nur für mich und Glenn Durrance, das unsere Manager ist, zu unterstützen. Voll schön von ihm. Also Corey, I thank you, mate. You're brilliant, brother. Brilliant. Und ja, sonst bin ich sehr froh mit meinem Auftritt von heute. Bei der letzten European Tour war ich, Entschuldigung für meine Sprache, richtig beschissen.
Das kannst du ruhig sagen. Also, wir verstehen dich schon. Jetzt kommt Ian White morgen. Der ist zurzeit in sehr, sehr guter Form. 2 Finals gespielt. Nummer 3 der Setzliste. Da musst du ran. Aber du magst es. Das Haus wird voll sein. Du magst die großen Bühnen. Du magst die großen Atmosphären, oder?
Ja, das stimmt. Ich kann nur sagen, es gibt nicht viele Leute heute da, aber trotzdem hatte ich eine riesige Unterstützung. Also danke. Und ich glaube, das werde ich morgen wieder bekommen, selbst gegen Ian White. Also ja, ich werde so wie genau die letzten 5 Tage mich fokussieren auf mich selber und einfach weitergehen. Ian White, Michael Van Gerwen, Adrian Lewis, es ist egal, mein Spiel.
Schön, dass du da bist. Dimitri van den Bergh, ihn sehen wir morgen also wieder. Der Dreammaker. Und wahrscheinlich ist er